My name is Tracy Oeser, and this is my podcast, Journey Through Your Suicide Loss. My mission is to share my story of how I've processed my own grief after the loss of my daughter to suicide. We'll delve into the hard survival questions and how they affected me. Hopefully, my story can help you through your own grief journey. Please take some time for yourself and join me. Hello, my name is Tracy Oeser, and thank you for joining me on my podcast, Journey Through Your Suicide Loss, which is brought to you by Journey Thru Grief. Journey Thru Grief, which is spelled THRU, is a platform to help people grieving a suicide loss and for advocating to others about what it's like to lose someone to suicide. I am asked all the time about how I've done this. How have I lost a child in a most horrific way, and I am still able to get out of bed every day and function? So I started this podcast for the survivors, the people who get up every day as well, the ones who are warriors without even realizing it. Since we're right in the middle of the holiday season between Thanksgiving and the New Year, today I'm talking about surviving the holiday season. I'll discuss how I handled my past seasons and what worked for me. And I will talk about how, as a suicide loss survivor, you're allowed to define what these holidays will hold for you going forward from your loss. Please come back and join me after this short break. Welcome back. In case you haven't heard of me, my name is Tracy Oeser, and I live in Spokane Valley, Washington. Prior to my current marriage, I was a single mom for many years who was raising 2 children. In December of 2006, my world turned upside down when my 16-year-old daughter ended her own life by personal choice. As I've said in prior episodes, this podcast isn't designed to be graphic. It's to tell the story of how I have journeyed through the process of my own grief. As I go through this podcast series, I will only get more in depth about the night she died as necessary. If you like our podcast, please share it, or if you would be so kind, give us a star rating. This allows podcast platforms to promote us to a larger audience who needs our message. And if you have time, leave a comment. Those comments help us to know what you're struggling with, so that I can address that in future episodes. You're welcome to leave those comments or a review over on our Journey Thru Grief website or Facebook page. We are found at journeythrugrief.com, that's THRU, or on our Facebook page, which is also Journey Thru Grief. Thank you for your support. Most importantly, if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide yourself, you can reach help at 1-800-273-8255 or text the word HOME to 741-741 and someone will be available to listen. First off, I want to give a shout out to all the loss survivors in my listening audience. I know that this holiday season is most likely excruciating for you, but I see you and my heart goes out to you as you work through each moment. In December 2006, when my daughter died, we were between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I had recently moved into a new apartment, so the holiday decorations weren't put up yet. As a family, we were struggling. Chelsea's mental illness was spiraling out of control. I had recently spent an emotional night at the emergency room while Chelsea was having some sort of breakdown, without any effective or healthy resolution for her at the end. Both she and her brother were staying with their dad, so I wasn't feeling much of the holiday spirit at all. Where I lived at the time, it was usually gray and dismal through the wintertime. For anyone who has suffered with seasonal affective disorder, the winter season is already expected to be hard. On the days where there wasn't rain pouring down, there was mist and drizzle. It was cold and damp. For that year, there had also been some snowfall, and for that area, they weren't accustomed to it. So the roads were impassable for a few days, and the schools would shut down. On December 1st, 2006, it was the perfect storm, so to speak. It had been dark, dreary, and dismal for days. School hadn't been in session, and Chelsea had been stuck at home at her dad's house, away from her friends, her social structure, and a normal routine. At some point during that day, it all came crashing down for her. I was able to log in and see her online activity, to which she had told her friend that she hadn't been eating and that she didn't feel good. Those statements were enough to throw me into a panic, because the last time she had said those things, she later cut her wrists. I called her dad around 9:30 p.m. and told him my suspicions. He assured me that he would keep an eye on her, but that she was eating and she was fine. But about an hour later, she wasn't fine. After 2 very long, agonizing hours, she was officially gone. At that moment, my holiday season ceased to exist. While everyone was doing the usual festivities of tree decorating and celebrating, I was burying my kid. It was 3 weeks before Christmas, and I could care less. For people who have lost someone to suicide, they will tell you that life just stops. For me, it was like being thrown into a bottomless abyss of dread. I was just floating, well, when I wasn't crying hysterically. Getting out of bed was a chore. Working a full day was a chore. Just existing was a chore. All the while being surrounded by Christmas trees and festivities. It was excruciating. I listened to other suicide loss survivors who have to navigate through their first few holiday seasons, and the irritations are the same. They don't want to celebrate if their loved one isn't here. They don't want to elicit any type of happiness in the season. How can they? They are broken. But society doesn't recognize that. Society says, if you aren't socializing at holiday parties or you're not decorating your cubicle at work, you're not a team player. If you are listening to this podcast and you are not a suicide loss survivor, pass along the knowledge to supervisors and colleagues that they need to realize that we are barely functioning through this, and that they are lucky that these loss survivors even made it to work. There is this resonating theme that happens where we just flat out don't care. Our perspectives turn upside down. We start questioning our entire lives at that point, and we're forced to create what our new normal of life will look like, living through the rest of our lives. Aside from the internal struggles of grief, there are the questions of all the things I used to enjoy, what's the point? This is a normal time of celebration, but why do I care? There's a lot of resentment going on. Why do those people get to be festive with their happy little families? And the whole thing is just crap. I don't remember a lot about December 2006 as a whole. I know the holiday decorations never went up. I didn't care. I know I was in a robotic routine of going to work and coming back home. No one sent me a Christmas card. A few people checked up on me, which was great. Since my son was spending Christmas with his dad, decorations for him were over there. An emotional blessing for me, I guess. When Christmas Day came, I went over to spend time with my son, but I was just numb. It felt like just another day. Back when I had been married to my ex-husband, I had spent many holidays with the people who came in and out of the house that day. And they were excited for the holiday, just like every year. But interestingly, like nothing had just happened 3 weeks beforehand, I was angry and I felt so alone in my grief. I was extremely glad when that day was over. The next summer, we moved to Las Vegas, so Christmas 2007 was much different. We were in a tiny little apartment, and I had a tiny fake tree in storage. In my thought process, I would just get the Christmas tree out, get the decorations out that I hadn't put up the previous year, decorate, and jump into the holiday spirit. But that didn't happen. We pulled out the boxes with full intention, and then I couldn't do it. The thought of pulling those memories out of their boxes made me literally physically sick. I managed to get the tree built, but then it just sat there, green and plain. It's okay, we'll do it next year, I told myself. So to experience Christmas, we'd drive down to the Las Vegas Strip and check out any of the extravagantly decorated casinos. The decorations went up at my work, although I didn't personally decorate my workspace. We had the usual in-office and family Christmas parties, and I participated, but the spark wasn't there. I went through the motions of showing excitement, but the reality was I was dead inside, and I didn't care. In retrospect, my supervisor and coworkers were very kind and caring people, who, had I told them my history and why I wasn't excited to celebrate with them, they probably would have just embraced me and let me grieve the holiday. But I didn't do that. We as loss survivors seem to understand from early on. People don't want to hear it. And we can't share about a loss as gruesome as suicide. So we don't. Perceptions in society are strong. Stigma is strong. Fear of not being normal and fitting in can be ingrained into most of us. That's why the grieving process from a suicide loss is so long and daunting. The next year, I was better. I told myself again that I'd get the tree out and decorate the house. Everything was fine until I got started. The tree got put up, and this time, one string of lights made it around the top section. And then I couldn't do it anymore. So there we were, a tree with half the lights and no decorations. And no decorations at all in the house. So next year, we'd try it again. For the next year, 2 years out from my loss, I had a little bit of a reprieve. My husband's parents moved in with us, and my mother-in-law was all ready to decorate for Christmas. I said, "Oh, please, be my guest. Decorate the tree however you'd like." She offered to get my boxes of ornaments out and include them on the tree, and I respectfully declined. I just couldn't look at them yet. Finally, in 2010, the ornaments came out and made it onto the tree. And I cried. I cried at the little reindeer ornaments that Chelsea had made in elementary school. I cried at her pink baby's first Christmas ornament. But it was cathartic and it was cleansing. The ornaments went on every year after that, except this year. I have to say the COVID pandemic has sparked some of the angst inside myself, and decorating the house is a struggle and a chore, so not much is up in our house. I think the grief of normalcy in the day-to-day, due to restrictions from the COVID-19 pandemic and all the shutdowns, has sparked some lingering subconscious grief stemming from my personal loss. I am like everyone else, and I'm often reminded that even after 14 years, the grief and pain is always close by. It's just manageable now. For today, it's about recognizing the grief and allowing it to process through the moment. And it's about accepting the fact that grief, no matter how long after the event, is a normal thing and something not to be ashamed of. Your grief journey is your grief journey. You decide how it flows. You ask for help when you're struggling and take away what you learn and put it into healthy practice. If this is your first holiday season without your loved one, it's okay to grieve. It's okay to tell others around you that you can't emotionally go through the motions of a typical holiday. When your friends and family say that you need to move on and just celebrate with everyone else, it's okay to say that you can't, and maybe next year you will. It's okay to tell your coworkers that you are struggling and that you are not emotionally capable of partaking in celebrations with them. Let people be supportive but not demanding of your time. I know that these concepts are incredibly hard, especially if you have small children in the house. They won't understand if Christmas isn't normal for them because children need routine after a loss in order to get through it. Do the best you can. Find someone that will make help with getting those Christmas presents wrapped, dinner cooked, etc. Most importantly, make a plan for the actual holiday. There is nothing worse than thinking you'll just be okay or that you'll just go with the flow. For me, that caused some mental tail spinning, and not having a structured plan just perpetuated my own grief. While it's normal to feel all the emotions, let them happen, and come out the other side, it's worse when there isn't a plan because it seems to intensify those emotions. If all the usual things that you used to do for the holidays seem daunting and painful, it's okay to change the whole process. Sometimes lost survivors who used to play up the festivities and decorate to the hilt before losing their loved one now just leave town and go on vacation. Some build new traditions that have nothing to do with what they used to do. And some still celebrate and make sure that they include their loved one in the mix. It's all individual choice, and it's all okay. Many will journal their holidays so that they can look back and see how they have evolved emotionally through their grief over time. Whatever you decide to do this season, know that you are not alone. There are many people in the same boat as you, although you may not notice them. We'd love to hear about how your holiday seasons have evolved after your loss. You are welcome to leave us a message through our contact form on our website or through our Facebook page. I hope that you are able to process through your holidays, knowing that there is hope and that we are here to support your grief journey. In the show notes of this episode, there is a link for our free copy of 7 tips for processing complicated grief during the holidays. Click the link, provide your email, and you will access it digitally. Thanks for listening, and please come back and check in for new episodes. We will continue to release more podcasts because there are suicide deaths every day, and the average number of people left behind from one death is 135. That's a lot of pain and a lot of people hiding in that pain because of the stigma surrounding suicide. If, as a society, we continue with the status quo and we don't step forward as survivors to say what we are going through, things won't change. The stigma won't change, and help will remain unavailable. If I need to be the voice to get that started, then that's okay. I'm here for it. As I said earlier, you will help our podcast by sharing it. Please share to help others, and again, please visit our website at www.journeythrough.grief.com. I welcome comments, questions, or let me know if there is a topic you'd like me to talk about. I will be happy to share my own personal journey. You can also leave comments on our Journey Through Grief Facebook page. Additionally, if you are listening to this podcast through the Anchor platform, you can be a monthly contributor to our cause by clicking the support button on the Anchor dashboard. This allows us to provide materials and educational information to those who need to hear it. Thank you for spending your time with me, and take care until next time.